Previously on Whoniversals.
Troughton month is mine. I'm going to rule this month with an iron fist.
You've made too many videos this month, Will.
You have heard the charge against you.
You can't condemn me to exile.
We can.
You can't do this to me.
The time has come for us to end Troughton month, Will, and to begin your exile.
Yeah, so, I'm back now. That intro would probably be far more fitting if this video were about the 70s, but, instead we're talking about 80s Who. These things never perfectly line up, do they? Astronomy Will is back with a vengeance to analyse our solar system in Doctor Who, as we move forward from the surprisingly rich content of the 1970s and press forward into the unashamed flashiness of the 1980s.
Everybody listen!
No! As I mentioned last time, Classic Who curiously loses a lot of enthusiasm for our solar system after season 15, and this general disinterest is kept up for the rest of its lifespan. And I don't know about you, but I find this fact kind of baffling. 80s Who boasts quite a few deep space stories after all, but very few of them have anything to do with our solar system, instead opting for a lot of interstellar space cruises. Kinda bums me out, honestly. Like they couldn't have thrown in an extra reference or two for Uranus? Well, to be fair, a distant picture of it does get used in Timelash as a stand-in for the Bandrol planet, but that doesn't really count. But have no fear, there are a handful that do narratively explore and contribute to the lore of our solar system. Take a guess what the first one is, I'll give you 3 seconds. It's Earthshock. Yup, the solar system lore in 80s Who is kicked off by the revelation that the impact event which wiped out the dinosaurs in Earth's ancient history wasn't an asteroid, but actually a futuristic space freighter sabotaged by the Cybermen to collide with our planet and wipe out humanity, only for it to time warp 65 million years back in time, and inadvertently end up paving the way for humanity's existence in the first place.
Earth collided with a meteorite.
Or something. Freighter?
A pretty creative idea, not gonna lie, and a hell of a plot point to tie a companion's death into. Of course, there's some scientific inaccuracies though. Earth looks exactly the same as it does now, with no regard for the millennia of prior plate tectonic movements, and the impact seems to happen on nearly the exact opposite side of the globe than scientists have deduced it to be, but I'd say that's more of a fault on the effects team rather than a genuine narrative fail per se, so whatever. The next relevant story is Enlightenment, as the plot focuses on a boat race in space, partaken by some bored immortal beings trying to pass eternity. And the marker buoys used in the race are the planets of Earth's solar system.
The marker buoys are planets.
If you look carefully enough, you'll see it's a solar system containing Earth.
Venus is the first obstacle in the race, but unfortunately it's also the only planet we actually see in the story. Kind of a shame. Anyway, at one point the ships steer close to Venus and narrowly avoid impacting, before continuing on with the race. 3 entries in, and we're already halfway through the decade and into a new Doctor's era with the next solar system themed adventure, Attack of the Cybermen. First up, there's the inclusion of Halley, however you say his name's comet.
Comet 9/12/44 to you, Halley's Comet.
A fairly topical plot point, as in the real world the comet was nearing its closest approach to the sun in 76 years, an event known as a perihelion. A perihelion? Kill me now. Well, either way, if you've seen my Solar System in 60s Who video, you'll know that I appreciated when the topics or settings of the stories connected with actual astronomical events going on in reality. So it is a detail I appreciate here as well, one of the few things I actually do like about the serial, but that's a whole other can of worms. Though it's funny that I mentioned the 60s, because the plot point of Halley's Comet does link to Doctor Who's solar system lore introduced way back in the 10th Planet. Yeah, the whole tale is a giant hot mess of references to previous Cybermen stories, and the apparent centerpiece of it all is that the Cybermen want to prevent their home planet Mondas, Earth's long-lost twin world, from being destroyed upon its return to our solar system during the events of the 10th planet. So in order to do that, they intend on deflecting Halley's comet's trajectory to slam into the Earth before Mondas's annihilation.
Halley's Comet?
They plan to divert it. Cause it to crash into Earth.
Credit where it's due, I do appreciate the comet being set up early in the adventure, so this latter revelation doesn't feel like it comes out of nowhere, but the fact is that this is all essentially just exposition about what the Cybermen intend on doing after they finish whatever they're trying to accomplish in the main plot. It never really comes into play in the actual narrative because they're too busy mucking about in London sewers and on Telos, and so this ultimate goal of theirs feels pretty hollow and disposable when all is said and done. Oh, and as I mentioned earlier, with this being a Frankenstein hodgepodge of references to other previous Cyberman stories, we also get mentions of cyber transmissions coming from the dark side of the moon, like in The Invasion.
Inform Moonbase, as signals are being detected, they must increase the distortion.
Yeah, I'm really not all that impressed by the solar system lore explored in this adventure because it's either retreading beats from previous stories or just essentially irrelevant. I'm really not a fan of Attack of the Cybermen, in case you couldn't tell. Either way, then we hit the trial of a Time Lord, where we see the Doctor on trial for meddling, again, and one example presented of his interference is an adventure where he and Perry arrive on a planet called Ravelox 2 billion years or so in the future, which curiously has a lot of attributes similar to Earth, like its mass, rotation and axial tilt, but it's in a completely different part of space and is also decrepit after having been ravaged by a solar fireball. So I'm pretty sure you can guess the plot twist.
Well, I suppose there is a 1,000,000 to 1 chance there was a place called Marble Arch on Ravelox.
And they wrote in English?
Well, that's another 1,000,000 to 1 chance.
So from this, the Doctor speculates that Earth's entire, quote, constellation was somehow shifted a couple of light years, but is at a loss on the how and why. Well, 13 episodes later in the saga, we finally get some answers. In the form of more tedious exposition! There was pirated Time Lord technical information being sold to Andromeda from Earth, and the High Council didn't like that, so they used a magnetron to draw Earth and its constellation across space to prevent the sales, in turn causing the solar fireball which devastated the planet. Then it was renamed to Ravelox as a cover-up. Okay, whatever, I really don't care at this point, let's move on. If you thought the last 2 Doctor's eras barely had any material in them, then you're gonna be even more starved here, as the McCoy era's exploration of our solar system is extremely sparse. Delta and the Bannerman has a subplot about some bumbling Americans looking for their lost space probe, which the Navarino magic space bus crashes into en route to Disneyland, forcing them to land in 1950s Wales where the plot unfolds. Okay. And then both Remembrance of the Daleks and Silver Nemesis showcase establishing shots in the former's case of Earth and in the latter's case the Moon, with enemy spaceships in the vicinity. Also a random shot of a red planet in Silver Nemesis's case. Is this meant to be Mars? What's the point of this shot? And that's pretty much it. Yeah, I wasn't lying when I said Classic Who lost enthusiasm for depicting our solar system after season 15, and if that's the best they could offer, particularly for the 6th and 7th Doctor's eras, then I'm not surprised. So, I guess that's pretty much it for this video, as well as for Classic Who as a whole. Damn. Well, I guess I'll see you next time. I don't know if I want to do Modern Who in this series as well, but I'll definitely dwell on... Okay! My friend, Jenny, has generously reminded me that there is indeed some Doctor Who content in the 90s that not only exists, but references our solar system, and it's probably best that I discuss these occurrences to save me from a week of sleepless nights with her blowing up my mentions in unbridled anger. So, without further ado... Search Out Space is a piece of media that exists. As the title suggests, it gives a basic crash course in educating its young audience about outer space, and in between mind-rottingly banal discussions about the true shape of the Earth and how light works and all that, we get a few skit-like segments which reference the planets of the solar system, as well as a lesson on the phases of the moon and stuff. Fun fact, as of 2022, this is the only piece of televised Doctor Who to actually directly acknowledge the planet Mercury. Classic Who never did so, and Modern Who hasn't as of 2022 either. The more you know. And last but not least, we once again have some establishing shots of the TARDIS flying towards Earth in the TV movie. Okay, now we're done with this video. Whatever, it's still great to be back. Although, things are a little more restrictive now. I mean, after the excess of Troughton Month, the other members attached a shock bracelet to me to punish me every time I mentioned the second Doctor. Ow! Oh, come on! That was unfair! I was just explaining the situation, you utter